If you have followed any part of my career, you probably recognize my longtime music director, Jason Halbert. I can remember his devastation 7 years ago when he and his wife, Rhonda, learned their then 16-year-old daughter, Kennedy, had cancer. I have literally known Kennedy since she was 5. As a parent, I still can't imagine. Like, having those conversations with him were so hard because I can't imagine anything scarier. You know, you'd rather take it on than have your baby go through something like that. So thankfully, today, Kennedy is cancer-free, and she's working hard to give back to the other kids battling cancer as well. So let's say hi to Kennedy, everybody! Your career was taking off when you were diagnosed with cancer, right?
Yes.
I've always known you kind of singing, like since you were young.
I mean, I sang before I could talk, so that's like always been my way of communicating. And I know you know all of this of like you build your muscles throughout your life. You do all the training, you do all the things.
Yeah.
And it had turned out that I actually had cancer 3 years before I even knew about it. So for 3 years, I was singing through this giant tumor that I didn't even know about. And so I built all of these muscles kind of around this thing. And I noticed when I was 16, like every time I was doing a show, I felt like I was singing through a pile of bricks and I'd have to sleep for 2 days, which doesn't make sense. Like that's not normal. And then one day I took a shower, and when I got out, my neck just swelled up. And we ended up having to, they still can't explain why that happened in the first place, but that was the only thing that made us even look for the cancer to begin with.
And to be so young. That's why no one would even guess that. Like to be 13, like you said, and have had that 3 years prior to them even catching it. That's
exactly.
Unheard
and
of.
Especially, there's only 14 other cases in the world like mine for being diagnosed with the final stage of thyroid cancer at 16 and how far it had spread. And so it is very, very rare.
You underwent 2 extreme surgeries.
Yes.
And can you tell us about that? Because like, I do remember there being a decision, like a pretty big decision, and your parents, I just remember him talking about it briefly, and I think you took on the call.
So basically, the first surgery that was to remove my thyroid and just kind of check everything out, they really thought, because they hadn't given us the full diagnosis at that point, and they thought this was just gonna be routine, it's gonna be easy, it's normally like a 4-hour surgery, it's gonna be fine, and they got in there and it was just everywhere. So that 4-hour surgery turned into an 8-hour surgery, and so that happened, and they were like, we think we got enough though for you to be able to do radiation, and like, you're gonna be fine, it's not a big deal. They kept trying to always say it's not a big deal, because it really was.
And right when someone says that, you're like, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so we thought that I would be cleared to do radiation, and so I did the body scan for that, and just my body lit up like a Christmas tree again. And so we met with my surgeon and the whole team, and the night before my surgery, we got a call from him, and he was like, I don't know what's gonna kill you first, the surgery that it's gonna take for you to survive or the cancer itself. And we got to the morning of the surgery, and they asked us, what do you want to do? And there's no, how could you make that decision? You either kill your daughter or you kill your daughter. There's not a better answer to it. And so I raised my hand in my hospital gown and I said, I want to go through with it. I'd rather say that I tried than just sit here and let it defeat me. And luckily I actually survived a 12-hour surgery where they took apart my entire neck, and I have a crazy scar all the way around it to prove it. And yeah, still here somehow.
It's incredible, actually. And you recovered and then had a second cancer diagnosis. And I remember being livid when your dad told me about that, because I was like, I remember literally praying that night, and I will cry right now because I was so angry.
We all were, and it was so unexpected. I was actually here in LA.
Yeah.
And I had just had this like random growth on my ankle that I'd had for just as long as I had apparently had the tumors before. And just wanted to get it removed because it was annoying. And we got a call while we were at the airport, and they were like, you have melanoma in your ankle. And so we had actually, you were touring in Australia at the time, and we were planning on taking a side vacation afterwards to go to New Zealand for 2 weeks, because it was like a celebration of life afterwards, after all the thyroid stuff. And so we told our doctors that we were planning on doing this trip, and do we need to cancel it to just start treating this? And every time, because I was in the room, they'd be like, no, you need to go take that trip. And we'd be like, okay, that doesn't really make any sense, but okay. And go to another doctor and be like, no, you need to take that trip. So we finally called our friend, who's an amazing doctor, and we're like, what's actually going on? I say we, my parents did that, I was not a part of this conversation. They're like, why are we going on this trip? And they were like, well, you need to take her on this trip because this could very well be the last trip that you ever take with her. So go make it the best 2 weeks of her life and hope for the best on the back end. And I didn't know this, so we did a two-week trip to New Zealand where I didn't know that, and mom and dad are having to process that, but they truly made it the best 2 weeks of my life.
Well, I actually heard about that vacation. It sounded epic. Jason has been my musical director for almost 2 decades, and his daughter Kennedy has spent years fighting multiple cancer diagnoses. I'm happy to say she is now cancer-free and working with a nonprofit called Rally Foundation. So can you tell us about Rally Foundation?
So what's crazy is Rally has been with me my entire process, and a mutual friend of ours actually pulled me in for a fundraiser of theirs 4 months before I was diagnosed. So I was already raising funds for them for a childhood cancer organization, not knowing what I was about to have to go through, and they just partnered up and became the family that I needed to feel understood, and especially in survivorship, because that's been one of the craziest things. And what's just so amazing about them is 93 cents to every dollar goes directly towards the research of what they're doing. And what I'm extremely passionate about is, I often say that life after cancer has actually been harder than life during, because life during, you don't really have an option. You're just do the treatment, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Life after cancer, they give you a stamp of approval once you're in remission, and they say, go live your life, go do some amazing things, you're all good now. And you're given this shell of a body that's not your own. Like, I live on synthetic hormones for the rest of my life. I lost my ability to sing. So much radiation killed my brain cells that I lost my ability to play piano that I learned when I was 7 years old for that performance with you.
Wow.
And so I lost everything, and then was told, you're better now, go live this amazing life.
You
and
don't
I was
feel
like,
better.
I don't feel better. I don't know what to do with this. I have so many side effects. My life is the furthest thing from normal. And that's where survivorship is so important. And that's what Rally is also specializing in getting research for, is programs that help you navigate this new life and this new body and your mental health in it and therapy behind it, and for your family. Like, survivorship is equally as
aftermath.
important, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about working with Rally because we need more research so that kids don't have to go through what I went through.
Yeah, and parents.
And parents, yes.
Yeah, I'm
the
like,
whole family.
yeah, the whole family. That's, oof.
Yeah.
And Jason, like, you and Rhonda must have faced some really tough moments, and I remember you kind of speaking on that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were there for a lot of tough moments. I mean, how many times did you turn around and catch me crying on stage, like during Stronger? And I'm like, it's supposed to be a fun song, but it's weird talking about this part of it publicly, because I'm very aware that we're all dealing with stuff like this. And I'm sure if everybody raised their hands, over 50% of everybody's dealing with somebody that's had cancer, or, you know, our loved one. And you know me, I mean, the producers wanted me over on the couch. The reason I'm right here is because this is my emotional fortress, because
Yeah.
I'm not the strong one. I mean, see?
No, it's obviously no. He is. We did try and get Jason. My producer was like, I tried to get him on the couch, and then I was like, good luck, because it's already not. First of all, not everybody is. It's not easy to express yourself. You know, it's not easy.
So I
to
was
do
fortunate. I'm surrounded by strong women everywhere, and Kennedy was a strong one in this process, and my wife really held it together for us.
That. Woo. All right, so you have this thing. Is it on March 13th?
Yes, so I pledged to raise $25,000 for Rally in just 9 weeks because of the COVID year. They can't do any of their fundraisers, and there's been over $2 million worth of funds that have not gone towards research this year.
Wow.
And which is devastating. So I pledged to raise at minimum $25,000 in 9 weeks. And so what I've been doing is I do live streams from literally our living room, a full-blown lights, projection, my band, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we are doing a donation-based ticket. So you can go to rallyteamwarrior.org, and literally you can donate $1 or $1,000 is preferred for them. But all of it goes straight to Rally, and just by donating whatever amount you feel is best, you'll get a link, like a private link to the concert, and it happens March 13th.
Is this your Nashville home?
Yes.
Now that's a rad living room, y'all. That's not an ordinary living room.
No, it is not.
Their house, of course, has to be spectacular and storybook. I'm like, it's an amazing living room as well. It's a cool venue.
Yes.
Well, y'all got to check out that concert March 13th, right?
Yes.
Well, to donate to Kennedy's team, go to rallyteamwarrior.org or visit our website at kellyclarksonshow.com for more information. Remember, the concert is March 13th, and all money raised goes directly to Rally Foundation for childhood cancer research.